Hello, fourth graders. Welcome to lesson 2.4, Estimate Products. Today we're working with estimating products. Hopefully you remember that a product is the answer to a multiplication problem. The factors are the numbers that you multiply together to create the product. So we have a problem, 5 times 320. We're going to round to the front end number in the second factor. So if we're working with a single digit times a multi-digit number, round the multi-digit number to the greatest front end number. And what I mean by that is the greatest place value. If I was going to round to the nearest hundreds, which is the greatest place value in 320, I'm going to change my problem to 5 times 300. And that is similar, almost exactly like the lesson that you learned yesterday. We will multiply 5 times 3 hundreds. I know that 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times 3 is 15 hundreds. Look, there's 2 more zeros. So there's 2 zeros in here. And this is the product of 5 and 3. Okay, so this is my estimate. I use estimates to determine whether actual answers are reasonable. Make sure you write that down. We use estimates to decide if actual products are reasonable. And I'll show you what I mean with a word problem. Okay, Ava's horse eats 86 pounds each week. Ava solved the equation below to find out how much feed she needs for 4 weeks. So she multiplied 4 times 86, and she says she needs 344 pounds of feed. Is her answer reasonable? Okay, so how do we determine if her answer is reasonable without actually doing the exact math? We use an estimate. So let's estimate 4 times 86. Again, the greater number is in the tens place. So I am going to round the greater number to the tens place. And I'm going to change my problem to 4 times 90, which is 4 times 9 is 36. And that's 4 times 9 tens. That's 36 tens, which is equivalent to 360. Okay, let's see if I compare 360 to her answer of 344. Well, she didn't say 15,000. She didn't say 30,000. 360 is pretty close to 344. I would definitely say yes. Her answer is reasonable. Okay, let's take a look at another word problem here. An elephant can reach as high as 23 feet with its trunk. That is pretty high. It uses its trunk to pick up objects that weigh up to 3 times as much as a 165-pound person. About how much weight can an African elephant pick up with its trunk? Okay, so let's take down some important details. An elephant can reach as high as 23 feet with its trunk. Wait, I don't know if they're talking about height. Let's see. About how much weight can an African elephant pick up with its trunk? You know, that first line really has nothing to do with that question. That's not an important detail to this problem. It uses its trunk to pick up objects that weigh up to, here's some important. Pick up objects that weigh up to 3 times as much, that's important, as a 165-pound person. Okay, so 3 times as much as 165. Oh, wait a minute, we've been doing things like that. 3 times as much as 165. About how much weight can an African elephant pick up with his trunk? Well, it looks like I know my math problem here. 3 times 165. But am I going to do that exact problem? No, and here's why not. Let me change my color here. A very important phrase, about how much. About how much means to estimate. Those key words are very important. Estimate. Okay, so if I'm going to estimate 3 times 165, I'm going to round the greater number to the nearest, or the highest place value, rather. 165 is the greater value. And the greatest value is in the hundreds place. So I am going to change that number by rounding to the nearest hundreds. 3 times 200 equals 3 times 2 is 6, and there are 2 zeros. 3 times 2 groups of hundreds is 600. Okay, so that's my answer when I am creating an estimate. Just for kicks and giggles, I'm going to actually multiply 3 times 165 because I just can't help myself. 3 times 100, I'm going to do that first. Then I'm going to do 3 times 60. You don't have to do this, but I thought it might be interesting for you to see. And then I'm going to do 3 times 5. 3 times 100 is 300, plus 3 times 60 is 180, plus 3 times 5 is 15. I'm going to add all that together. 300 plus 180 is 480, plus 15, 495. Well, that is fairly reasonable. My estimate is a little greater, but then again, I did round 165 up quite a bit. Okay, now for your work. oops, I want to show you one more way we can estimate, in which we will get two estimates that will give us a range in which our answer will be. Here's what I mean. Again, we're going to focus on the front end number of the greater number and round. But this time we're going to round it two different ways. One way is going to ignore our rule for rounding, so bear with me on this one. I'll round it the way we normally do. Okay, so if I was going to round 4,499 to the nearest 1,000, I would round it to 4,000 because the boss is telling me 4 or below, let it go. So this number sentence would be 6 times 4,000. Which would give us, for an estimate, 6 times 4 is 24. There are 3 zeros. 4 thousands, 6 times 4 thousands is 24 thousands. And now the next way, I'm going to go up to the next 1,000. So instead of rounding to 4,000, I'm going to round up to the next 1,000, even though that ignores the rules that we've been teaching you for exact rounding. This is so that we can get a range in which our answer will be. So 6 times 5,000 is 6 times 5 is 30. Well, it's not just 6 times 5, it's 6 times 5 groups of 1,000, so that's 30 thousands. Okay, so the answer would actually be somewhere in between 2,400 and 24,000 and 30,000. The exact answer is between these numbers. And what I mean by that is, on the number line, somewhere the actual answer will lie between these two numbers. Okay. Here is your homework tonight. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Take your time, do a good job, and we will see you later.